So it was of course another really disappointing weekend for Manchester United fans, although we did at least get a glimpse of change and something that we might do moving forward, which is at least a little bit exciting. Of course I am talking about Joshua Zirkzee and the fact that he changed position. Normally he plays up front and he is very much a striker for Manchester United, but in this game, and we can see it in the average positions, he was a right-sided forward. We can also see this in his heat map, he was playing on the right hand side, although it is interesting that he was given freedom to roam away from this position. So the question is, why did Amorim use him in this way, and does it bring something to Manchester United moving forward? Questions that we will be answering today, but first of all I need you guys to subscribe to the channel please. Once you've done that, we'll get into the video. Now if I'm being completely honest, I have had Zirkzee in the right forward position suggested to me multiple times in live streams, and I'm always a little bit dismissive of the idea because personally I still feel as though he is a striker, and I certainly feel at other clubs he would be used in that role. However, Amorim has suggested he will continue to play here, which would suggest there was something that he saw and he liked, so I thought I'd try and find that. What was Zirkzee doing in this game which Amorim liked? And to be honest, it was the fact that he was a retention point for Manchester United. A player that you could go into and the ball was going to stick. We know in terms of his physicality, he's a tall guy, he's pretty strong, he can hold players off, and technically he's got an excellent first touch, and he evades players really well for his size. So it made him a really nice sticking point for Manchester United, a player that you can go into and you know that the ball is going to stick to him and he's going to bring others into the game. You can see it in a moment like this, there's a sort of loose ball as Bruno Fernandes wins the header. Zirkzee in these moments is just really good at getting his body in the way and keeping the ball for his team before just playing a simple pass. Now, the key word there is simple. This is basic stuff. But ask yourself the question, how many Manchester United players can actually do that? You know, take the ball, despite being under contact from a defender, take the ball, look after it, keep it, and then find a teammate. Genuinely, not many Manchester United players can do that to the level that we need, but Zirkzee in this game was doing that. You can see it again, this time high on the right hand side. He is a player that you can go into, and again, he's going to make the ball stick, he's going to take a good first touch, and then just lay it off to someone else. Of course, this is a little bit boring though, and it did get more interesting. Now I said it gets more interesting, but actually I am still going to focus on just taking a good first touch and bringing others into the game. But actually what's important here is whereabouts on the pitch he is doing it. We know that Ruben Amorim is a manager that seems to like the 3-4-3, right? I think we've all picked that up by now. Within this system, it's quite rigid. The players aren't given too much freedom to roam into different areas, certainly not at this moment in time, so it makes Manchester United a little bit predictable. We see the central midfielders stay next to each other very often, unless we're playing weaker opposition, and the inside forwards play very much as that. Inside forwards with the occasional license to roam out wide, but we don't really see them drifting across the pitch. Or we didn't prior to this game, but in this game we saw a change, because Joshua Zirkzee was given a real freedom, not to play as a right forward up here, but actually at times almost to appear like a singular 10. He was given the freedom to move into these positions, and it was really effective for United when trying to move through the pitch. We spoke the other day about how Spurs were trying to be aggressive, were trying to get pressure on the ball, and, you know, press United in these areas. What Zirkzee was doing is when Spurs were in these kind of man-to-man moments, Zirkzee was then just drifting in as the spare man. You see, Højlund up front was occupying the centre-backs. They didn't want to be 1v1 with him, so they were picked up there, and it gave Zirkzee a lot of space. And this is probably why Amorim likes him in this position more than up front. You see, when he plays up front and wants to drop deeper, he is still going to be followed by a centre-back. Whereas in this position, he was genuinely like a free player for us in moments. There were spells where he could get on the ball and just no one was close to him. You can see the two Spurs midfielders here having to pick up other players, and it means that Zirkzee can roam into this position. Again, this doesn't look like a right forward. This is actually a pure 10 in this position, dropping deeper and allowing Manchester United to get on the ball from where, again, we know he's got a good first touch, he can bring others into the game. I think it's actually quite effective. I was impressed with his work in this game. We can also now see how it allows us to then play forward with that sort of up, back and through combination that was spoken about in the past. We've got, again, in a moment like this, the Spurs midfielders tied up trying to mark other players. So when Joshua Zirkzee comes roaming in from his right forward position, but actually ends up really central, there's no one to pick him up. He's between the Spurs players. He isn't being marked. He's got all the time in the world here, and he is almost breaking the Spurs pressing structure. Now you might think that a centre-back should still be following him, but actually they can't, because Højlund is pinning them. Højlund is pinning the Spurs centre-backs, which means that Zirkzee, again, is our free player. He's given that license to drop a little bit deeper. He sets the ball back for Bruno Fernandes with, again, backboard play, holding the ball up for the team. And then once again, Bruno is able to move the ball forward. I think Zirkzee did this really, really well. Now, of course, holding the ball up and bringing others into play is a key part of the job of an inside forward, and Zirkzee did this well, but ultimately we also want something going forward. You are an attacker. Give us something moving forward. Bring others into play higher up the pitch, not just in our own half, but can you do it in these areas? And again, Zirkzee, in truth, did it very well in this game. Now, we do have to be careful with Zirkzee. We've seen him perform well in the past, and then in the next game, he regresses and is a bit worse again. But again, in this position, I felt that what he bought was the ideal tools for an inside forward. Again, the ability to keep the ball, particularly with your back to goal, but also the ability to pass to others, but also to play on the half turn. I said it right at the start. Zirkzee is oddly evasive for someone of his size. He's actually really good at sort of ghosting and drifting past defenders. I'm not going to look at this on the tactics board. Instead, we'll go straight to the clips. In moments like this, he is surrounded by Spurs players, but his subtlety on the ball in these positions is actually really nice. Just knocking it through the player's legs to come out on the other side. That's really good play from Zirkzee. And again, what it allows us to do is move inside the pitch. I've been speaking about this so much recently, but we get stuck out wide all the time. Zirkzee's ability to take the ball, drop a shoulder, and actually beat a man in the middle was key for more central progression in this football match. Again, we can see it in a situation like this. Zirkzee completely surrounded. He's willing to drop a little bit deeper to get on the ball. And then when he does that, he's got the footwork. I mean, again, this moment here is really nice to turn away. It's a good turn. And then a little fake here. And then after that, he's going to beat the defender. Beats the defender, and then is looking to get the shot off at goal. That's inside forward play. That is what Manchester United have lacked. Bruno Fernandes doesn't play in the same way because he doesn't have that sort of elegance to the way that he plays when you watch Bruno Fernandes. Garnacho doesn't do this in the half spaces. Rashford, when he was here, doesn't turn in these ways. Zirkzee was giving us something just a little bit different. It was an ability to keep the ball, to turn past players, and bring other people into the game. Again, that's a really smooth, silky turn. And again, the pass then goes inside the pitch. Zirkzee, for me, he did just offer us something completely different to what we've seen so far. And actually, having seen it, I really like the skill set from an inside forward. Just the other thing that I wanted to pick up on was Zirkzee's work when we were in more transitional moments. This is something that I spoke about a lot when we first signed him. His ball carrying into space is actually quite effective. Unfortunately, at Manchester United so far, we haven't really seen it. I guess part of that is because he has been playing up front. So again, when he drops deep, he's got a centre-back right on him. Whereas with Amorim playing him in this deeper position, which again, I'll admit, I was unsure about, he had more space and he actually had time to carry the ball through the middle of the pitch. Particularly with Bruno then running round the right of him. Zirkzee was genuinely, again, in that 10 position in the centre, and we can see it in his numbers here. His progressive numbers, but also his passing into the final third numbers, are genuinely very good, one of the best in the Premier League for strikers this season. And it's in these moments where I think he offers us something that no one else does. Ball carrying through the centre of the pitch. He's confident in his own ability, happy to draw Spurs players towards him, to make that little bit of space for someone else, and it gave us a more direct counter-attacking threat, because he could go at the heart of the opposition defence. Again, in a moment like this, it's fairly simple play, but he picks the ball up in a bit of space, and he has that eye for the forward pass. This one's really good. A lovely through ball for Garnacho. Garnacho couldn't quite get a touch. The Zirkzee pass was a little bit heavy, and it just kind of faded out. But still, the idea of playing forward quickly is good from Zirkzee. And then there's just this moment here as well, which I want to look at. Taking players on. Zirkzee has the ability to carry the ball central. Again, we spoke about this when he signed for the club. We're yet to really see it at United. I want to see more of this, and I feel like we can see that as an inside forward. How many Manchester United players can actually beat players in the middle like that to get us into an attacking position? Now, in this particular match, we didn't really see the final action. He didn't quite get that final pass. He didn't quite get that release. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Zirkzee's performance was perfect, because it wasn't. But in terms of a new idea, we had 9 days of training, and potentially Amorim discovered something a little bit different about Joshua Zirkzee, and why he may be more suited to this inside forward role. And having watched the match back, I do see why. I think he was one of our better players. He was creative, he kept the ball for us, and he was a good attacking player. All in all, I was impressed with the performance. Can we see it again? That's a challenge for him. Can you do it consistently in this position? That is really what we need at United, because consistency is nowhere to be found right now. We need Zirkzee to try and bring it. Perhaps in the right forward role he can, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. Does this work for Zirkzee? What are the drawbacks of this? Because there certainly are some, and we can cover that another day if you like. Do you think he should carry on playing here, or should he actually be more of a striker? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, we're finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.